What up, motherfuckers? Hey, all right, check it. I got a question for you.
Okay.
If you had to start all over in dog breeding, how would you go about it?
Ooh, that's a good question. All right, all right. So if I had to start over all over again, let's start from the very, very, very beginning. Like no dogs whatsoever. Let's say I had no connections, no dogs whatsoever. I'm a complete newbie, just getting into the breed. And it's funny because I'm actually doing a segment on this on my own channel on Breeders Hacks, where I'm actually getting into the Borbals and the African Mastiffs, and I'm starting out, I have no connections, no none of that. So I can answer this actually pretty easily. The first thing I would do is I would start with females without a question. The mistake I did when I first got into the bullies is I bought a male, and then I was begging people to want to breed to my male. That was like one of the biggest mistakes I could have made. That was many moons ago though.
Oh, you won't believe how many people send me pictures of their mail. Like, yo, you want to breed to him?
Yeah. So, like if I had to start all over again, like the other thing I could say is the best thing that I did was take time. I took like a solid year, and just studying the breed that I was in. It wasn't really a choice. It wasn't really a choice. It was just my mentor wasn't willing to give me a dog, and I wanted him to give me one rather than buying one. But it was good because the best thing that could have happened was it gave me a year to really kind of like, it's almost like the NBA. I use this analogy. It's like the NBA. I wanted to be a breeder that was in the top league with all the top breeders. That's I think what everybody's aspiration is when they get into breeding. You want to be one of the top breeders. But I didn't know who the players were. So it was like, it was kind of good to take the time and study and watch on the sidelines who's the top players, what are they doing, where's the breed kind of the direction going in, who's got the look that I like, so on and so forth, and just taking that like solid, it doesn't have to be a year, but at least some time to be on the sidelines rather than just jumping into it and trying to, compete with the big dogs, So
See, for me, it's a little hard for me to answer that question because I've been doing this so long.
it's a
So
loaded
going
question.
back to the fact of not knowing anything is hard. So I can only look at it from a perspective of starting afresh. So
Yeah,
if
use
I
another,
was
for example, like say you were going to get into.
if I was going to get into another breed, honestly, I would probably try to find the baddest female I could ever find. I would
Yes.
buy one female, and I would make sure she's had a litter before I spent that kind of money on her. And I would buy one badass female. Just, I mean, the cream of the crop type shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I would start there, and I wouldn't buy a female who's unproven. When I say unproven, she didn't have a litter. I'm not giving you $50,000 for a dog, or $5,000, or even $500. I mean, maybe $500, but I'm not giving you anything more than $3,000 for a dog that's never had a puppy.
I would
You know,
look.
an adult dog. We're talking a 3-year-old dog who's never had puppies, and now all of a sudden you want to sell her. Yeah, there might be a little bit of a question mark there for me because of where my education is.
What I've learned is the best dogs are the dogs that kind of aren't for sale. A dog that maybe is like the breeder's one of his top foundation females, and then you kind of hit him up and be like, listen, I know she's not for sale, but would you be willing to do a cone on her or something? I'd even take a cone because
Yeah, I know that I personally don't breed dogs more than 3 times. Personally, I don't. But if I'm buying a dog for, say, just say I called you and that white girl you got, I'd say I want to buy her. I want to get into exotics. Or I'd call June. I'm gonna call the top dogs. Like, I ain't gonna call Minnie Mo and Jack from down the street. I'm gonna call the players. You know what I mean? The top players. And granted, I know them because I've been around a while now. So, but I don't know who the top players in English Bulldogs is, and I don't know who the top player in Cane Corsos are. But I would have to do that homework and find out who that is. And once I found that out, I'd find someone who has the look and the style that I prefer, and I just keep it funky with them. Like, look, man, is she for sale? Possibly after her litter, maybe. I don't know. I know what she can do, and I'd offer him, anywhere between $10,000 and $20,000 for that dog.
Yeah.
Now, in my breed, that's a lot of money. In your breed, that's probably common numbers. You know what I mean? But for my breed, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I would do. And I know she can have a litter. So we're good. And now moving forward, I'd make sure I'd maximize the potential in that animal. You know, I'd breed her the best way possible one time. I would even think about if it worked out amazing, I would even maybe repeat it if I got all boys or all girls. You know what I mean? I wanted a girl, or I wanted a blue girl, or I wanted a black girl, or whatever color I wanted. I would repeat it, and you know, maybe one time to see if I can get that. And I would even, on the end, I'd maybe even do a dual sire on her because I wanted to maximize the potential from this female.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I would maximize it to my full potential. And no, because now we're at the level where we have so many things at our disposal, so many dogs that are, you know, at our fingertips, that we don't do that no more. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Think about how many fingers you can go to fucking June's house and read anything you want. You can go to, other cat and say, hey man, I love him. Let me rock with him. Interstate Bullies is right down the street from you. You know, you can just ride to their crib and see what they got. You know what I mean? Yeah. So some people don't have that luxury. So I would try to maximize the full potential of that female, but I would pay for it. I would come out of and you'll get the money back, not today, not tomorrow, but when your program is up there with the best of them is when you're going to start making your money back.
100%. And sometimes, yet again, you do have to piggyback off of the breeder that you're tapping into. You know, you may not have.
Hell no, I don't condone that at all.
No, let me rephrase. What I'm saying is the fact that you're getting started, right? And like I said, the fact of doing a cone, for example, maybe doing a pup back. It's something that he wants. So obviously, it must be of value if the breeder himself still wants to be attached to that breeding. So sometimes that's
I agree with you.
Yeah, that's a great way
for me.
That,
for me, I will never, for the lack of a better understanding, piggyback off anybody. I'll give the respect where it is absolutely due. I will say I got this dog from June, or I got this dog from Angel. I will leave your kennel name in front of the dog. I will not put my kennel name on the dog.
Yep.
I mean, in the beginning, I was naive and young, and I would do that. I don't do that at all now. If I bought the dog from you, the dog stays double muscle, bones. I don't change his name.
No.
But what I am going to do is learn. I stand on my own 2 feet. I will make dogs better, and they will have my name on them. You know what I mean? When it comes down, if we share a litter, I'll even, moving forward, if it was 100% your idea, I'll even keep your name on those puppies. You know what I mean? I don't have any problems with it.
Yeah.
But from there on, I don't say 3 times bones. I don't say 3 times crazy bones. I don't say 18 times paintball, because in those statements, there's nothing against them. But the only thing that you're doing is raising that dog's value, not yours.
Yep. No, I think, like what I mean by piggybacking is like what I was saying about the whole coning and tapping into what that breeder's resources and what he already has established. The other thing is, yet again, if you're doing like, say, like a cone type of breeding, and for those that don't know, cone is just essentially like, say I hit up Chris and I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm just starting out. I don't have any females. You know what? I know you have a female that you're really not trying to get rid of, which is good. Yet again, I'm after the dogs that are very his best females. Obviously, if it's his best females, he's not just going to be willing to give her away. He's either going to charge a super high premium, or he's going to still want his fingers in that breeding. So he'll be like, all right, Angel, you know what? Instead of charging you 20 grand for this female, I'll charge you 10, and I want a pup back or something like that. The nice thing about that is, and what I mean by like the piggybacking is, now I paid half of the price for the female. Yes, I do have to give him a puppy back, but that also tells me that this breeding is something of value, because he still wants something off of it, as well as now he already has a huge market. I'm just getting started, so he may be able to kind of help get the first litter sold. So that's kind of what I mean. You know what I'm saying? Just getting started.
No, I understand. I just. For me, I see so many people buy 2 dogs from you, breed them together, and just say, 100% double muscle dogs. And it's like, bro, just because you bought 2 dogs from me and you bred them together doesn't mean I would have bred them together.
Yep, 100%. And that's a whole other thing too, that you have to also be careful of that too, because you can have a female. Let's say I bought a bulldog from some random breeder with a completely different bloodline, and then Chris has his females that he's taken the time to pack their DNA with first pick female after first pick female after first pick female. And now I see that he bred to this one stud from so and so, and I say, you know what? Well, if Chris bred to that stud and he got these fire puppies, well, I got my female off of this other breeder. Let me go ahead and breed to the same stud. I'm going to get the same exact thing. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that because my female is completely different. Completely.
Well, that's the thing that people misunderstand about breedings. You know, when you breed two dogs together, the outcome, you should pick the puppy based off of why what was the desired outcome, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
You know, if you wanted, it to be blue, I'm going to use color because it's easier to understand, and I don't have to get too scientific, like, oh, I want a better shoulder set or a better, this or better angle, better that. No, let's just understand one thing. Blue. I wanted a blue dog. If you pick the fawn puppy, what the fuck was the point? What was the purpose in using this dog to make blue puppies and you don't even pick the blue one? You see what I'm saying? Well, that's also why we can do a repeat. You know what I'm saying? Like, all right, let me breed these two dogs together. Let me hope that the best male or the best female is a blue dog. So that's kind of when you breed two dogs for a genetic trait. If you don't pick that genetic trait, you wasted your time.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. If you want tri dogs, why go buy a black dog? Just go buy a tri dog.
And if you can even buy a black dog that carries tri. Yeah. If you have a tri dog at home, then you can make better tries. Possibly. I get that. But if you don't have any tri carriers at home and you go buy a tri carrier and you're thinking you're going to make tries, man, you got a 3-generation uphill battle. You need to start with a tri dog. Yeah. Now you only have a two-generation battle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's what people don't understand. If you're trying to breed dog A to dog B to fix your bad bites or bad ear sets or underbites or tail sets or whatever you're trying to fix, and then you constantly always pick the same style of dog that's all blown out, you didn't fix anything.
And that actually leads to another thing that I just mentioned is, like, sometimes if you make mistakes when you're starting out, sometimes you have to be able to suck up your pride and not be afraid to start over. I had to when I was starting out. I bought dogs that I thought I could turn them into what I wanted, but I realized it was too much. I bit off more than I could chew. So the dogs that I kind of had started with, it was going to be too much work and take too many generations to get the solid foundation of what I needed, just for what I needed to start. So for me,
some people excel at correcting structure. Some people excel at making mass. Yeah. Some people excel at making better color dogs. So know your strength is basically, if you don't know your own strength, you have to be humble. I know some of the people that and I can guarantee, like June. We'll take June. I promise you, I've known June for 20 years. He's a really dope dude, but he's one of the most humble motherfuckers I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
He doesn't brag about anything. And I've known him from breeding pit bulls to American bulldogs to Oldies to Englishes to Frenchies and exotics. Like, he's done it all. But he's a very humble person, and he'll tell you the first time, oh, missed. You know what I mean? I'll tell you the same thing. Oh, missed. Yep. You know what I'm saying? I struck out. I didn't even hit the ball.
Yep.
And it's no shame in the game. Sometimes when you do certain things, it don't work.
100%. And that leads
to have the humility to accept that pill. You're gonna try to fix something that shouldn't be fixed.
And that leads exactly to what I was gonna say. I scrapped my whole yard, and I probably spent close to $20,000 with June, right? But that being able to humble myself and remove the dogs that weren't going to work for my program and starting on a more solid foundation with June's blood, set me years and years and years ahead. So for me, it was like, do I spend the next, I don't know, 5 to 10 years trying to catch up to what I was trying to get, or do I spend, that money and I'm basically where I skipped the line. I'm exactly where I need to be, and I'm putting together the breedings I want and getting the outcomes I want off of my first breeding, off of with the blood that I had purchased from June, I got what I wanted, literally off the first breeding. So to me, it was like that money was well spent because it would have taken me so long.
I tell people, this is the analogy that I give people. If you're building a race car, I understand that the pride in building something that goes that fast, and the pride in building something that's going to win. I get it, guys. Don't get me wrong, because I do have that much pride, but I also have to swallow my ego sometimes and say, you know what? This car is fucking smoking me. I mean, I'm in the high tens and this dude's in the low nines. And I'm not even catching him. I'm looking at his rear view. He sees me in the rear view from the time the light turns green until we get to the finish line. Like, I'm not catching him. So I need to you either need to partner up with that person and learn what they know so you can do better. I recommend that. And work with that person to do better. Yeah. It's a double-edged sword. It's not just one thing. Like, let me just get secrets. No, you got to learn what he knows and maybe use some of his dogs to help push you that much further. And it does work. It really does work. I've been doing dogs since 90s. And I remember the very first dogs that I was making, and I was line breeding just like everybody else was, and I wasn't getting nowhere close to what they were getting. And I was like, man, it's just not adding up.
Yeah.
And I bought one of their dogs, and I'm like, well, damn, it don't look nothing like it. Pedigree's almost identical. I'll tell you, I might get backlash for what I'm about to tell you. Game dog people used to lie through their teeth about paperwork. Same dad, grandfather, and great-grandfather was the same stud. That was bullshit. What they were doing is selling you a cake, but didn't want to give you the recipe. So they didn't tell you the ingredients, but they added like they did something.
Well, that happens.
They didn't tell you the ingredients, so you couldn't reproduce what they did.
That's in a lot of breeds. I see that in a lot of breeds because listen, when you're a breeder and you used to putting stuff together, you could tell when somebody's, they you doing the same breedings as them and somehow
ain't adding up.
Yeah.
You getting the 2 and they getting the 20. It's like, what the fuck am I doing wrong? Yeah. So that's why I tell people, just breed the dog in front of you too. Like, listen, all that pedigree stuff, it's beneficial if you can prove it. If you know, Angel, is this really out of crossbone? Yeah, bro, I promise you, it's really out of crossbone. All right, I trust you 100%. He kind of favors him. I know you my man. You ain't gonna lie to me. You know what I mean? Now I know going forward, this is a crossbone son.
Yep.
I know what he can do because I know I've seen you do with it. I know what you can do with the blood. And it's like, all right, let me pay attention a little bit.
Yeah.
With that pedigree, what you can do with that pedigree. Now if I buy a dog, I don't want to give any bad representations of dogs, but I buy a dog off of dog A, and his brother is supposed to be this famous dog B, and I don't get nothing like him. Either he just don't produce, and it's time to start over, and or something's not adding up in the pedigree. Now, I understand. I've told people 1,000 times, Michael Jordan has a brother and a son, and neither one of them do we know. So I understand the facts that this dog holds the key. I get that. But that's where the pedigree comes into play, the knowing how to produce it better and more. Not necessarily just the dog in front of you, but understanding the pedigree behind him too.
And I want to actually backtrack to, and this may be very helpful actually, is like when you're getting started, right? Yet again, starting and I have no connections or anything like that. Yet again, you also don't want to just breed for what's hot. You want to breed for, what you first got to look at what's the purpose in your breeding. Are you breeding to preserve a certain look because you feel like that look isn't around enough or whatever the case may be? Like a lot of other breeds, other than outside of like the Frenchies and stuff like that, a lot of them, they're trying to preserve the breed, the look. Are you trying to create a different look that's not really out there? One of the reasons why I got into the bullies was because there was a specific look that I liked that wasn't readily available to the masses, and I wanted to be able to create that look, keep a consistent look, and be able to get people that normally couldn't find that look, could come to me and get that look of dog because I loved how this particular look is. You need to look at what your why is, but when you're starting out, look at the different types within your breed. Look at, because there's going to be different variations within every breed. Look at the different types and see what dogs, like for me, what I let me look.
Different variations. Different variations. Composite breeds, not established like AKC, there's not gonna be okay. In AKC, we'll just take Aussies, Australian Shepherds. There's not that much variance. You know what I mean?
But there kind of is when you're looking at,
And them, I guess there is.
let's say your local breeder, let's say your local breeder is just putting together some garbage versus what you see on the internet that looks beautiful. You don't want to, you get what I'm saying? Like what I'm just saying, you want to look at key dogs, right? Look at dogs on the internet. And if you start finding certain dogs that resonate with you, start looking at their lineage. If they have a common ancestor, that's the bloodlines that you need to be rocking with. Those are the bloodlines that you need to like lean towards using, I guess is the best way to put it. And I think yet again, you're right with composite breeds, but I think that's with every breed. Like there's Rotties. I'm not into Rotties, but I can tell you when I look at certain Rotties, there's ones that I like. And it turns out I found out I didn't know any of this, but there's the German Rotties versus the American Rotties. And I don't know anything about Rotties, but
you like the German ones.
Yeah, once I saw them, I was like, oh man, I like that head. And it turns out because those are those specific bloodlines. So what you need to do is look at the different dogs that are out there. And if you start seeing certain dogs and you like that look, and then you start finding that they all come from a common ancestor, those are the bloodlines that you should probably be working with and find the top people within those bloodlines. Just my 2 cents. I mean, I don't. What do you?
I'll take Shorty Bulls for an example. I've seen 1,000 people breed Shorty Bulls, and they always ask me, "Who would you buy a Shorty Bull from?" It's kind of a no-brainer for me. I know Jamie. I'm going to go right to Jamie. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, I mean, she invented the breed, but there's some really key players. Joe from Devil Mountain Shorty Bulls. He's had Devil Horn. I really liked him. I would definitely buy a puppy off of him. You know what I mean? Like these are dogs that I physically have seen touch with my own hands. You know what I mean? Oscar from Steel Rail. He has some really nice colored ones. I would go there if I was kind of trying to get the colored ones. But that's just it. Like there's a few people in each breed that stand out in my mind, and that you're right. I would definitely work with them or try to work with them. And even if I was, wanted to get into dogs but didn't have thousands and thousands of dollars to throw at them, I would tell them, look, man, I'm really interested. I'll send you $200 or $300 a month until I can afford, until I've sent you enough money to get a puppy from you.
A lot
That's
of
kind of done.
Yeah, a lot of breeders like I think that's probably the approach that I would take. Is yet again, just like, and I think yet again in a composite breed, it's much easier because I guess maybe there's more variation. Like in the bullies, like there's so many different types of exotic bullies. I'll use an example. The breed that I'm in, you could do a lineup of 10 different exotic bullies, and they'll all look different. You got exotic bullies that look like they're not even the same breed. Versus, like you said, like the Australian Shepherd or something. There's probably not that wide of a variation, but there still may be certain ones that stick out to you, and they may all have a common ancestor. So I would say that's your best bet, unless you're breeding for different purposes, unless you're breeding for maybe just like what you feel like is hot or whatever the case may be. But that usually doesn't, you won't last too long.
Again, if I had to start all over, I'd buy one female that was talking the creme de la creme, and I would make sure she's already had a litter, just so I know that I didn't waste that money on a female that I can't take. Yeah. And then I would breed her one time, see if I liked it and got everything I want. I would slow roll the process. I would keep a lot of the puppies, and then I would work from there. Well, really, because one thing that you can testify, one dog within 3 years, you can turn one dog into 10.
Yeah, that yard can grow very quickly, and actually,
you'll need more space than you'll need more dogs. I promise.
Yep, and I was actually going to say that next was, but realistically, as a breeder, you don't want to just start with one dog because of how the time wise. If you really want to get into this seriously, you'd want to get a few females, no? And we did.
Yeah, but if I didn't have that kind of, I don't know who has $50,000 to drop on 3 dogs or something like that. Yeah. So, hypothetically, I would start with one, and I would just build from there. Yeah. My ego gets in my way. I'll be the first to admit my ego gets in my way because I enjoy building the dog. I enjoy the building process personally. I enjoy it. So yeah, I could go a little bit quicker probably with some processes, but I enjoy building it. 1, I know what's in there. 2, I know where it's at in there. And 3, when it's all said and done, I don't have anybody standing over top of me saying, "Oh, you just used crossbones to make that." I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than making a dope ass dog and then somebody showing up and saying, "Yep, it's because he's a crossbone son." Like,
Yeah.
like there's no worse feeling than that. You know, I just choked on that motherfucker. There's no worse feeling than that. You know what I mean? So
no,
I
100%.
don't like that feeling.
I agree. Like that's why even with when I had started to switch over to full blown exotic, that's why I eliminated the competition by just purchasing the dog. You know, that's one way that I got around it. I purchased the dog, I built my yard off of it, and I went with a different look than what June had going on. You know, so that then yet again people knew you could go back to June's yard and breed to his dogs, but you're not going to get this particular look because he sold it to me. He sold it to me, and then I advanced that look because he went in a different direction. He went with a more muscled up, just a different look now. Where for me, I went with this what I call like the angry toy bulls. They look like a cat faced kind of dog. So you know, but yet again, you have to have your own vision. You know, you have to have your own vision. And what I really like is what you said in our inbreeding and line breeding episode. Like if I really was taking this serious and I really wanted to get into this, like everything we said, and even with that one key female can change your whole entire yard. I just don't like that. For at least for me, dog breeding, it's a numbers game, and anything can happen. That female could catch pile, anything like that. So I want a few females. So yet again, just so that the numbers are in my favor. So you had said that you would buy. It was like one female that wasn't related, and then
breeding programs is solidified by 5 dogs at minimum. But you can make those 5 dogs, is what I'm saying. So okay. You're supposed to have one dog. All right, so 3 of them should be closely related, 1 should be loosely related, and 1 should look like the other 4, but no relation. So you can make that with 1 dog. Think about it. You can make that with 1 dog. You buy a female, you breed her, you keep 2 of her daughters. So now you have 3 dogs that are closely related. And then you can take, you can buy the very first girl's uncle or something like that. Just find the same pedigree somehow, somewhere, just bred differently, but looks the same. And you can throw her in the mix. And then the last dog, you know, you can use a dog that has the exact same look, but no genetic markers that are the same.
Got you. To me, that's when now you have a real program. You have at least 5 dogs, and exactly what you just said, where like 1's not related, the other 3 are somewhat related, and I think you said the last one
was closely related.
Oh, one closely related, 3 that
are related. Like
are related, yeah.
I apologize. It's 3 closely related, 1 loosely related, and 1 not related.
Got you. Yep. And to me, I think that would be the perfect. That's what I would aim for if I had to start all over again. Is like that blueprint. That's what I'd be aiming for. And like you said, I guess you could produce that off of that 1 female. But like I said, us as breeders, our biggest enemy is time. And if that female, you have that female that you purchased from the breeder or whatever the case may be, and say she doesn't take, or you know, like anything could happen. So I would try to layer up with a few females so that then it ensures your progression as a breeder. Because I've seen where a breeder relies on 1 or 2 females and things don't work out, and then he's behind by 2 years. I think that's our biggest thing is time. You know.
Yeah, no, I agree with all that. But the problem is, you know, money is also another issue. You know, you don't have all that kind of money to just sling around. So I think sometimes that we have champagne dreams with beer nut money. You got to start off with the money and realize that you got beer nut money, and you got to make. I've made all the dogs that are here at the house outside of my chocolate tribe ABs, and so I've literally pushed the envelope every single generation into where I'm at right now. I just won ABKC Nationals for my breed with a dog that I pushed as far as I could possibly push. I don't know how much further I can push that dude. And people see him in person, they like, what the fuck is that? You know what I mean? So when you see him in person, did you see Rocky at the BCDs?
I wanted to, but I didn't get a chance to.
When you see him, I promise you're gonna say the same thing everybody else says. Like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And so pushing the envelope, I think when you build it yourself, no matter if it took you 5 years or 50 years, when you see that product the happiness and the pride is all I need. You know what I mean? I don't care about anybody else's feelings. I know I achieved what I was going for, and that pride means everything to me. You know?
Yeah, 100%. And that's why, yet again, like I think I go back to, you have to, when you first start, before anything and everything, you have to ask yourself, why are you getting into this? What are you trying to do? Because it's like a map. It's one of those things that if you don't have any idea what you're doing, like as far as when you get into this, you just say, I want to just breed some dogs. Well, you're already starting blind. You know, you kind of like, every breeder that I talk to, including myself, it's like they have, you see the dogs that they have, but they have a vision in their head. Like they're already in their mind, at least they're already thinking about, well, I need to do this, I need to do that to the dogs, and so on and so forth. They have a vision inside their mind, you know, and that develops over time. As far as, you need to have a vision of what it is that you're trying to create, even if you don't get it on the first breeding, second breeding, third breeding, whatever the case may be. But there has to be something you're working towards. I guess that's the best way to put it.
You know what? Here's what I'll tell people. This is what I would. This is I'm literally doing it right now. Start with one female. Make what you want. Once you've made what you want, try to mass produce it. Once you've mass produced it, then you can alter it some here and there.
Yeah.
Because once you find a dog that you really like and you built something that you really love, and you can't make that motherfucker again, there's nothing more disheartening. There's nothing, bro. There's nothing like, you love crossbones, but if that dude straight up threw you staffy bulls, bro, you would be like,
yep,
motherfucker.
You
know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I got away from the exotic blood that I had prior to it, because of the fact that I produced this phenomenal dog. She was, I mean, put together wise, she was phenomenal, but she couldn't reproduce herself. And because of the blood that went into her, it was too scattered. She would throw more cleaner pit bully looking types of dogs, even if I would breed her straight to a bulldog. Like I mean, it was like, she just, like I said, it was just the blood that went into creating her prior, like the blood before her, that was behind her, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So it was just, like I said, it was better off starting over, and then off the first breeding I was getting what I wanted. So yeah, it's tough, it's definitely tough when you're dealing with stuff like that. So
I mean, you just gotta know when to hold them and know when to fold them, basically.
Yeah,
that's 100%. The easiest thing. I mean, you could pay. I've seen people buy $10,000 dogs and they'd be turds. Couldn't produce, couldn't do this, couldn't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've seen people buy $500 dogs and they turn into national winners.
And guys, don't let me just throw this out there. Don't go broke trying to buy dogs, like, because it's a process. It's not something that you're gonna buy this dog and immediately within like that's best case scenario. Like within 6 months, she comes into heat, she gives you a large litter. Like, things can happen. So make sure when you're acquiring these dogs that it doesn't compromise your situation or your capability to care for them and still maintain your household and so on and so forth. I've made that mistake going crazy buying dogs, and things don't, sometimes things don't always go as planned, So yeah, I think overall, starting over, I think those are the things that I would look at. I'm trying to think if there's anything else that really like would be key when you're starting over.
The key for me, when I talk to people, when they come to my house, they be like, man, how can you maintain this many dogs? I think if you're starting over, always remember to make sure you build your facility based on your projected numbers. Don't build a facility for 3 dogs and you eventually want to have 10.
Yeah.
And then you're going to be paying, and a lot of people don't understand. I know we only got 3 minutes left, but a lot of people don't understand that putting dog A, B, and C together, we call it the kennel, what's it called? Where you basically musical kennels. It's like, bro, you have to know what dog can go next to what dog, so they don't fit, they don't fight or they don't like each other. So, a lot of people don't understand, when you have a 10 kennel run, it's not as easy as what people think it is. You got to know this dog can go next to this dog. But if you plan on having a kennel facility, a breeding program, build your facility in advance, knowing you're going to do that. Because when it comes down to it, now you're going to hate it, because you got to keep letting these dogs in and out of the back door, and they turn off your back, and then your wife or your significant other is going to be like, these fucking dogs are tearing my house up. You know what I mean? So if you build a facility to your needs, it makes your life a lot easier. So
And
that's what I
actually,
would think. If you're
no,
starting over,
yeah.
make sure you build like you. I told you how big that freaking Borble was gonna be. You was like, bro, I think I'm gonna get like 1 or 2 of them. I said, shit. After you see how big the first one is, you done.
Yeah. We'll see what happens with that, man. I'm excited. Make sure you guys follow me on that journey on my other channel. But what I was gonna say was what I was thinking too is that is 100% correct. Make sure you have the proper setup, otherwise you're gonna be miserable. The other thing I was gonna say was in the beginning, you should have, at least in my opinion, Chris can differ. I think your goal should be, unless you get an absolute amazing stud, you really shouldn't have any goals of keeping males in the beginning, especially if you only have 1 or 2 females, because you're limited on what you could do with him. And if you've been doing it for under a year, it takes a lot of work to get a stud to where everybody wants to use the dog and breed to the dog and so on and so forth. Because if you get a nice dog, you might just end up having a pet where you're just going to be taking care of him and people won't be breeding to him. So the goal in the beginning should be to have more females than males, I guess. Let's say. I mean, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are a little different, but hey, I build around a male, but your females are very important. You know,
Yeah,
I like males personally. Your females are get people's attention, but your males are you should be your wow factors that
yeah.
make people come back. It's just different stroke for different folks. You can do it however you see fit. Um, I mean, I got over 10 males in my house, so you're talking to the wrong person. I mean, I would recommend, enlisting some of your family members. If they just want a cool dog, it's easier to give your mom or your brother a male dog than a female dog. They don't want the heat cycle problems where the only problem they're gonna have with a male him marking. That's it. You know?
So yeah, so maybe that'll be a topic, that we cover another episode, but we're running out of time, guys. So as always, hope this information is helpful, it's useful. See y'all in the next episode. All right, guys.
Deuces.